So because it's a prayer book Hebrew class, and because we're in the middle of counting the Omer, one of the first things I wanted to show you was how to count the Omer. That's a thing that we're supposed to do every single day from the second evening of Passover until Shavuot, which is, the word means weeks. Shavua, like when you say Shavua Tov, means good week, but this is weeks. Shavuot is the plural. And I wanted to show you, if you go to the B'nai Zion site and you go to holidays and you go to Passover, you can either get there by sliding over here, which is a pain in the neck to try to find. But if you go to Passover, there's a bunch of things that you can still see on here, but I would click directly on the Count the Omer. It just jumps you to another part of the page. There's a few different, last time we didn't get the Hillel Smith's animated version to pop up, so I'm not going to try to go do that for now. I'm going to show you the Homer version, Homer Simpson, Counting the Omer with Homer. The Simpsons have a lot of Jewish things in them, in their program, believe it or not, and you can read some of them here. Some of it is terrible, but it's there. But I would like to show you that it's got a great interactive calendar here. It's one of my favorite ones. It's one of the easiest ones to deal with. So if we are, let's see, almost, it's not quite dark yet. If we are April 28th in the evening or April 28th in the daytime, there's two different links here. So if we're just in the daytime, then we are left over from, whoops, that wasn't what I meant to do, was it? So we are Thursday, yeah, we're Thursday in the daytime, it's Thursday. So it's from Thursday, no, that's Thursday evening to Friday. Why is it doing Thursday evening to Friday when I'm clicking on Thursday during the day and not an evening?
Because that isn't the daytime. That box tells you what you're doing on that evening night.
No, that's the point. It doesn't. So for example, if I do April 27th in the evening, April 27th was a Wednesday night. So Wednesday evening until Thursday. That's the one when I say April 27th in the evening. But April 27th daytime is supposed to be this one. It's supposed to give me the version that ended the day before. Oh, well, it's supposed to be two separate links, and it sometimes works. And I guess it's not working on all of those. But
why does it say Adonai instead of Adonai?
I don't. AY is I. It's also I. It's transliteration. I don't even know what you're talking about there. The word in Hebrew says what it says. And sometimes they write it in a way that's not real, so that if you print it out, it's going to be respectful of God's name. So, but they're using the Y as if it were an I for almost all their transliterations. I don't even look at his transliteration. Sorry about that. All right, let's go to tonight, how we're going to count for tonight. So April 28th in the evening is, the way you do this is you have to count the days and you have to count the weeks, because in the Torah, it obligates us to count days and weeks. So the blessing, we're going to say that the sun went down, and the blessing for tonight, for Thursday night, is from Thursday evening through Friday, but you're only supposed to say the blessing if you say it in the evening. As soon as the day starts, which means the evening is when you're supposed to count it, you have some leeway about from sundown to nighttime. But if you forgot and you wait until tomorrow, it is still the 13th day, but you're not supposed to count in the morning, because you're supposed to count the whole day. And if you start in the middle, of the daytime, you didn't count the whole day. So there are rabbis that will tell you that you should not say the blessing if you forget to count at night. And if you forget to count at night more than once, then you didn't fulfill the commandment of counting 49 days. So you're not supposed to say the blessing at all again. I say, if I remembered day 1, 2, 3, and then I skipped until 7 because I had too many things to do and I brain hiccuped, and I remembered at 7, and I start counting then again, I feel like I am counting. I don't feel like I'm not counting. So if that's your attitude, then please continue to say the blessing, and God shouldn't zap you for saying a blessing when you weren't supposed to. It's not like we're bringing some strange fire in a pan. Anyway, so excuse me, from tonight until tomorrow, and this would be the blessing we would say, Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam. It starts the same exact 6 words that most brachot start with. Praised are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe. Asher kedeshanu b'mitzvotav vitzivanu. It continues with the next 4 words that we always use when we are fulfilling a mitzvah, which is who made us holy with commandments, with his commandments, and commanded us. And then the punchline for this is al, which means about, sfirat, which means the counting of, ha-omer, the counting of the Omer. And then the way you do it, they spell it out for you here. It says hayom, today is shlosha asar, which is how you say 13. Yom, day. It's not days. That's the way that they do it. Hayom shlosha asar yom, today is 13 day. Shehem shavua echad, that they are 1 week, v'shisha yamim, and 6 days la Omer, for the Omer. So you have to count both the days and the weeks. Otherwise, you're not fulfilling the commandment. I wanted to show you something cool if I can find it. And you're very welcome and encourage you to play around on these websites. Hillel Smith's one. So you've got 0. I'm not signing up for Tumblr.
That was last year's, and when I tried to do it this year, they said you had to download the app.
Okay, well, and the app costs money or doesn't cost money?
I don't remember because I'm doing it different.
So there is, let me see, but somewhere here, they had a very cool thing. It is last year's, but you can subscribe, but there was a very cool thing that the way he described it, there was a printout that also talked about, well, if you're Sephardic, then you may say this. And if you're not Sephardic, you may do this. But you'll see his numbers are animated, and each one will usually show you both a Hebrew, the letters that make the number, and so watch, that's 42. No, that's animated just by this. But there's going to be, if it's 42, there's going to be a mem and a bet in there somewhere, because everything has the Hebrew and the English just about. I thought they all did, but maybe not all. Anyway, but he had this really good, I'll find it because I downloaded it. All right, but the next thing we're doing is this. I jumped from the website, and I can show you again how we do that. We go to B'nai Zion, in case you don't remember, because I keep moving your things on you. You go to education, you go to adult education, you click on adult education, you find the class you're taking, you go below the words and you click on current students. And it tells you how much the prayer books cost. And this one, I wanted to show you something cool. I have this dictionary. Whoops, everything's going crazy. Everything fell down off my desk. Sorry about that. I have this dictionary. I'm going to stop the share for a second. It's called the Beginner's Dictionary of Prayer Book Hebrew. And it is a pretty decent, I'll show you some of the cool things that it has. If you look carefully, you will see that at the top of every page, there's a whole alphabet. So you can kind of see where you are in the alphabet to know what you're looking for, because not everybody remembers the alphabet in order. If you look up an entry, it'll say things like Av, and it will show the word Av, and then it will show the possessed form of Av. And then they'll say things like Ha'av, the father, and Ka'av, because they're going to show ways that you're going to see it in the Torah. So, for example, the verb for, or the noun, the verb for love, ahavta, you loved, and ve'ahavta is there, and that you have loved, and ways that you will see it in a prayer book is going to show you all of those things. And so you've got all the words, alphabetical order, there's a bunch of pages of all of the words, and then after that's done, there is a pronunciation guide, and then it has all of the words with, for those of you who need cheat sheets, let's see if you can see it, hold on. Every single word that's in the book, whoop, can you see it? It's not focusing. Anyway, one word at a time with a transliteration. So Av says AV next to it. How terrible is that? So it's more of a transliterated one. There's a description about names of God and what you should do and other prayer books that you should use and some declensions. Anyway, this book is I think it's $20 for the book. And I have a stack of them at B'nai Zion if you want. Is it really $20 and not 10? The answer book was 10. I think this one's 20. Anyway, we are jumping from here. If you come up here and you say, click here to go to the liturgical prayer book. This is the one that I was keeping up with. We are supposed to be in chapter 5 now, believe it or not. At least that's what my book is marked as. It fell on the floor. And it's supposed to be discussing adjectives. So I am going to show you this list. These are the first adjectives that we're learning. The first word is, you know what? Hold on. Before we do that, we really should have done a review. So if I click on these words here, our secret words, we get to the oral review. And we see if we understand any of these words before we go on. We had some basic vocabulary. Number 1 says, mi ata. And I would translate that as, who you? No, who are you? Mi ata. Ani hamelech. I am the king. Mi ani. Who am I? Ata haben. You're the son. This is so sad. Mi who? Who is he? Hu ha'av, he's the father. It's just really sad that nobody knows who they are in this one. Let me know if you have questions. I'm muting everybody again. And it's similar stuff. We went from the singulars, which we learned, to the plurals. So from mi ata, it goes to mi atem, who are y'all? And the answer is anachnu hamilachim. So now you see that the plural of I is we. It's first person. It's a plural of first person. You're included in the group. And the plural of king, melech, is melachim. The plural of ani, I, is we. We just saw that. But then we're saying atem, y'all. The plural of ata is atem. And the plural of ben is banim, and ben is habanim. So you got all this. This is vocabulary. If you don't know vocabulary, it's not going to help me much. I can review it with you again, but let's take a look at this. The vocabulary. So we have the words are Baruch, which we just used at the beginning of our prayer. It starts in almost every bracha is going to start with Baruch. There are some people who, in fact, will say that the definition of a bracha is that it has to start with Baruch. So I want you to notice something about, well, let's take a look at the words first. Baruch, it's a word you've heard before. Baruch is the beginning of almost every prayer blessing. Gadol means big or great. Where have you heard the word Gadol before? Wait, I'm unmuting you for a sec. Berta, go.
A miracle happened. here.
Great miracle happened here on your dreidel. Gimel is when you win everything, and the Gimel stands for Gadol. Thank you, thank you. So Gadol, and then we have Tov. Tov is good. You may have said Boker Tov or Lila Tov to somebody. Good night and good morning and good night. You may have said, read the first day of creation and saw that God saw the light, Ki Tov, and it was good. You may remember when we ask you, Ma Shlomech, how are you? And you say, Tov Toda, good, thanks. But hopefully you remember Tov. Kadosh. Kadosh means holy. When I read the prayer on Friday nights, we say, you are Kadosh, holy. Your name is Kadosh, holy. And those who strive to be holy, Kadoshim, because it's plural, it's those. So Kadosh is holy. And there are other words that are related to that, but Kadosh is the adjective form. And then we have the adjective Rav. You may have heard of the word Rav before. It sounds like the word for rabbi, teacher. It's not exactly the word for rabbi, but it sure looks like it. That's all there is to the word rabbi. And that's all there is to the word many or much. But you might have heard the expression Toda Rabbah. Thanks a lot. Thanks much. So Toda Rabbah, where you're using Rabbah, is the feminine form of Rav to reflect on the thanks. What I wanted to show you a couple of kind of cool things here. Did you notice that the word Baruch, Gadol, and Kadosh all have a kamatz, the A vowel underneath it? And then the only other vowel in it, in each of those three words, so these two syllable words, you have a Tov and a Rav. The fact that they both end in vet does not make them uniquely adjectives just because of that. But these three words are uniquely adjectival, that it has a kamatz under the first letter. It has three root letters, each of them. And the second vowel between the second and third consonant is a vav vowel. So it turns out that one of them is an u and the other two are o. But the reality is that often this pattern of three root letters with the kamatz under the first one and an o or an u in the other position, the other vowel, is you expect those to be adjectives. That's a way of turning things into adjectives. In fact, we do there's a hole that's kachol at the bottom of the sea. There's a hole that's kachol at the bottom of the sea. There's a hole that's kachol. There's a hole that's blue. If you look at the colors, you have kachol is blue, yarok is green, tsahov is yellow, adom is red, that they all do the a-o pattern for the masculine singular one. So, and you're going to see that when it masculine singular turns into a feminine singular, sometimes it goes from a-o to a-u. And that's what we're going to look at. And that's part of what I was trying to show you over here. What I did with this chart is you see those 5 words, just like what it had in here. But I also left you with these things, which is the chart that shows you what they are in the masculine, the feminine, the singular, the plurals. Because an adjective has to agree with the noun that it modifies and will always follow the noun and agree in 3 things. It will agree in number, gender, and definiteness. So number means that if the word is singular, then if the noun is singular, then your adjective has to be singular. If the noun is plural, the adjective has to be plural. So number, gender means if the noun is masculine, it needs to be masculine. The adjective is masculine. If the noun is feminine, the adjective has to be feminine. And if the noun is definite, then the adjective has to be definite. We'll see examples of that. Berta, I'm unmuting
You
you. Hold on.
said there would be 3 root letters,
Yes, usually there are.
but if
the words
it's
to-
agreeing, in number, then wouldn't you be adding more letters?
So no, I mean, that feels right, but it's not. So the word is, the root letters for bless or praise are still bet resh chaf. It doesn't matter if I'm saying baruch or I'm saying bracha or I'm saying mivarech or I'm saying brucha or bruchim. The root letters are still bet resh chaf. And you will find that when you're making a noun, when you're making an adjective feminine, 99% of the time, you're adding an a to the end of it, kamatz hey, the vowel and the hey. And that's what you're going to do to everything. But the root letters are still the same. So even if we're talking about tov, the root letters are tet and vet. It's not a 3 root letter thing here, but it's tet and vet. So we have tov and then tova and tovim and tovot, because if it's masculine and plural, masculine or mixed and plural, then it's always going to add an im to the end. And if it's feminine and plural, it's always going to add an o to the end. And did you hear me say always? I don't throw that word around a lot. I love adjectives because adjectives do not lie. That if you see tovim, then you know whatever is being modified, no matter what it looks like, has to be masculine and it has to be plural. Whatever it is, it has to be masculine or mixed and it has to be plural. Has to. Because an adjective doesn't lie. Nouns can lie. So in the story we had just seen, we were talking about birds, for example, and the word for a bird is tzipor, and the plural for tzipor is tziporim, but tziporim are birds and they're feminine. And so if I wanted to say good birds, if I want to say one good bird, I'd say tzipor tova. If I wanted to say the good bird, I'd have to say hatzipor hatova. If I wanted to say the good birds, I would have to say hatziporim hatovot, because adjectives, this is my favorite line, adjectives, it's not a rhyming game, it's an agreeing game. It has to agree with the noun. It's not supposed to rhyme with the noun. Most of the time, but only about 60% of the time, it's going to rhyme, but it's not a rhyming game. It's an agreeing game. And that's an important lesson that you are old enough to learn. It's a sad, but it's sad, but true. So, when I talk about adding letters, it didn't add anything to the root. It just added to the word itself, to the spelling of that word. But that's a good question. Marla, I unmuted you. Go.
Okay. This has happened to me before, that I've sent you a direct chat question.
Oh, sorry. Oh,
The
I'm
last
sharing
time
now.
you didn't receive it, so this time I didn't know if you did.
Yeah, sorry. I foolishly put the chat below the screen. Thank you. Thank you. Everybody's trying to tell me that. Look, I'm sharing screens now. Dun, 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 dun. So let's look at this. I had no idea. Let's go back a little bit then. Let's look at this, because I was trying to show you this. Baruch, Gadol, and Kadosh. Those are 3 root letters. Bet, Resh, Chaf, Gimel, Dalet, Lamed, Kuf, Dalet, Shin. Those are 3 root letters. And the vowels are a kamatz under the first root letter and a vav between the next 2 letters. So there are 3 root letters. Not only that, but by sharing the screen, I now see why I couldn't see my annotating, because they weren't there. So if essentially what I'm talking about here is that if I have 3 root letters, which I'm going to represent by X's, there's no such thing as an X in Hebrew, but I'm going to represent them by X's. So it could be anything. It could be a word that you knew, like shamar or malach, ruled. And if I take that and I add this under the first root letter, and I add this, and sometimes it's going to be an U, and sometimes it's going to be an O. Most of the time, I think it's going to be an O for the masculine singular, like Gadol and Kadosh. But if it's an U, like Baruch, it is still the paradigm of how to make kind of like a template of how to make an adjective. So even if you didn't know a word, if you knew like a noun or a verb and you didn't know the adjective, you could make up an adjective by doing this to it. And everybody would know what you meant, even if no one in the whole world had ever said that word before. So this could either be, I'm going to do like a yellow. It could be an U, like Baruch, and it could be an O. It's not going to be both at the same time. I promise you that. But it could be an U or an O. But the point is, it's going to be the kamatz, which is this vowel, and it's going to be an U or an O, and then you're going to get an adjective out of it. That's what I was trying to show you, Berta. Hold on. Go.
These are all masculine.
Right. Right now,
Okay.
what you're seeing is masculine. Let me just show you. Hold on, watch. Because this is what I was trying to show you, that I'm leaving that there.
Oh, okay.
But on my chart that I have here as part of the liturgical page, I'll show you where I got that again, because it's here. We were on this page. We're on lesson 5. And I went to this thing, the vocabulary with Hebrew and English. This one is one that I spoon feed you with, and I show you, because by the end of the lesson, you're supposed to know all of these. So I put it on this. So these are the masculine singulars. These all, you add an a to the end of them all, and you make it feminine singular. You add an eem to the end of them, and you get a masculine or mixed plural. You add an o to the end of them, and you get a feminine plural. And the adjectives will never lie. That's what I was trying to tell you. But there will, not surprisingly, sometimes be vowel changes in the word as well. So tov, add an a to the end, feminine singular, tova, add an im to the end, tovim, add an o to the end, get feminine plural, tovot. Rav, add an a to the end, and it becomes rabbah. Now, if you missed last class, there is a very cool everything you wanted to know about vowels, but we're afraid to ask. I think I did it last week for the biblical Hebrew class, but I thought I posted it also for this one, because you're going to want to know those. And what happens here is you have a short vowel, no resting schwa, there has to be a dagesh. You have a short vowel, no resting schwa, there has to be a dagesh. Short vowel, no resting schwa, there has to be a dagesh. I don't need a dagesh here because the word ended. I don't have to compensate for another syllable because the word ended. So it's not surprising that we have a dagesh in the bet. It's weird to think Rav and then Rabbah, but this is why I was saying Toda Rabbah. Notice though, so Baruch, add an ah to the end of the word, and guess what happened? Propretonic reduction of the kamats. That's what happened. We have Baruch, 2-syllable words, the accent's at the end of the word, so the tonic is Baruch. But as soon as I add one more syllable to the end, Barucha, then this switches down to nothing. It becomes Barucha, Baruchim, Baruchot. So it's Baruch, Barucha, Baruchim, Baruchot. Consistently goes from kamats to shva because propretonic reduction of the kamats. Guess what happens with gadol? Gedola, gedolim, gedolot. Propretonic reduction of the kamats. Guess what happens with kadosh? Kadosh, kedosha, kedoshim, kedoshot. That's what's happening. And that's the only vowel change that you're seeing is something that you could have predicted is the propretonic reduction of the kamats for that one. Cool, huh? I think so. All right. That's our little, look how colorful it is. It reminds me of clowns or something though. And these are flashcards that you can print. I'm going to take away some of this because it's kind of distracting now. But these are flashcards. The big words, I don't always put the lines on. You have to get to the other side for the lines. And it tells you what they are so that you can do flashing. And I have every masculine, feminine, plural, singular for everything. And just aids for you, things that help. If you only want the Hebrew side, they're there also, because some people like to write on the cards themselves. If you want only the English side, they're there also. I've also got these automatic flashcards. These were the good old days when I was finding them, when I was figuring out how to do it. So you listen to
Tov, tova, tovim, tovot.
and if you wait a moment, it's going to keep going, or you can click
Kadosh, kedosha, kedoshim, kedoshot.
and it tells you what it means down here. That's supposed to be helping you if you've got,
Tov, gad, baruch,
yeah, right. It's not letting me
Barucha,
escape.
baruchim,
Escape. That's the lesson, is those adjectives, and those are the only ones that you're expected to know in this class for now. So let me take a look at this. I'm going to, this is going to fall down again. I don't want it to fall. I'm still sharing, right?
Mhm.
Okay, good. So we have, thank you. Adjectives, I'm going to tell you this stuff again where you're looking at it here, but in English, adjective, I mean, any language, an adjective is a word that kind of describes a noun. So big father, good mothers, holy nation, those describe the nouns themselves. In English, you know that the adjective comes before the noun that it describes. In Hebrew, the adjective usually comes after the noun it describes. I am going to posit to you that it's way more helpful to have it come after the noun. And, you know, I give the example of, I spy with my eye a big yellow polka dot. You have no idea what I'm looking for yet. I mean, maybe you could find something that's big and yellow and polka dot, but if I say a ball, big, yellow, polka dot, I have narrowed it down as opposed to just stringing along a whole bunch of adjectives. So, and I think that many languages will do it this way, that they have the noun first and then the adjectives. Did you ever study another language? How do they do it in the other languages that you've studied? Like this, right? Like Hebrew, that first you get the noun. So we have these phrases that they're trying to share with us. We have Av Gadol, father big, and you would translate it appropriately as a, because there's no a in Hebrew, big father. Melech Tov, a good king. Kadosh is a holy nation. In English, every adjective only has one form. Excuse me, I'm going to say holy. I'm not going to, there's no other way of saying it. If I want talking about one or many, it's always going to be, or masculine or feminine, it's always going to be holy. But in Hebrew, every adjective has 4 forms because there is masculine singular, feminine singular. There's the potential of it. The truth is that in our biblical Hebrew book and in our prayer book Hebrew book, there is very possibly many adjectives that will never be used in all 4 forms in the prayer book. It is very possible, for example, if I took an old prayer book, there aren't as many feminine words to modify. So there, it's very possible that maybe the word tova will never happen in a prayer book. Maybe. I'm not saying that it isn't, but so sometimes they won't always introduce you to all of the versions of it. It is rare for an adjective that you shouldn't be exposed to all four forms. I love this. It's a good example. Tov, tova, tovim, tovot, because all you do is add the ending and it's regular and it's delightful. But I have to go this way. Hold on. All right. So it always matches the noun it describes, it says. I always say it has to follow the noun and agree in number, gender, and definiteness. I can say it again a million times. It has to agree with the noun. It doesn't have to rhyme with the noun. So Melech Tov is a good king. Eretz Tova, because land is feminine. Land is always feminine. Eretz is feminine. So it's Eretz Tova. Eretz Yisrael Yafa. Melachim Tovim. Well, that one rhymes, so shoot me. But it doesn't have to rhyme all the time. It has to agree. Melech, Melachim is the plural. And it goes to Tovim. Melachim Tovim. So I added just the im. Aratzot Tovot. Now that one is a rhyming game. But Eretz was the singular. So it's not telling you remember that the noun doesn't tell you whether it was the plural of the noun doesn't tell you if it was masculine or singular, but as soon as you put an adjective on there, the adjective will never lie. It is so nice to have an adjective if you're trying to find out those things. And by the way, we will need to know that for certain verb forms too, because a verb also has to agree in number, gender, and definiteness, and verbs do not lie either. So here they're going to show you the four forms of the adjectives introduced in the chapter, and I already posted them for you on there. Rav, Rabbah, Rabim, Rabot, they're going down here. Kadosh, Kedosha, Kedoshim, Kedoshot, Tov, Tova, Tovim, Tovot, Gadol, Gedolah, Gedolim, Gedolot. What was the other one? Baruch, Kadosh, Baruch. These are the nouns. These are examples of using the phrases together. It's not going to surprise you. The other thing that we already did all of this. You know this. So now we're going to talk about what happens. So I told you the noun always agrees with the adjective always agrees in number, gender, definiteness. Number means singular or plural. Gender means masculine or feminine. Definiteness means if your noun is definite, then your adjective has to be definite. So Melech Tov, and definite doesn't mean specific. It's a grammatical term. Melech Tov means a good king. A is called an indefinite article. It's the little word that comes before the noun, and it doesn't exist in Hebrew at all, but it's an indefinite article. And the phrase and a king is an indefinite noun. But as soon as I put a ha on king, if I want to say the king, and I want to say the good king, then if I want to say the good king, then I have to put noun first, adjective second. Noun is masculine singular, adjective has to be masculine singular, but I have a ha on the and the king. So I have to have a ha on the adjective. So it's what I like to call the ha-ha principle. There's going to be a ha on every adjective that will be stringing along after it. If I want to say the good, wise, handsome king, I would say the good, the wise, the handsome. I'd say the on all of them. And so Hamelech HaTov. You might though see something like this, Hamelech Tov. Now watch what happened here. The adjective does agree with the noun. It's masculine singular, masculine singular. It's masculine, it's masculine. It's singular. But there's a ha on this and there's no ha on that. So watch what the difference between these two is, that these two are the good and king are in the same phrase, the good king. These two, they're on separate sides of the sentence. Hamelech Tov is the king is good. There is no is in Hebrew, so it's kind of invisible. But if I see a ha on a noun and I don't see a ha on the adjective, then it means that that's a sentence, and it means that there was no, that it's not staying in the same phrase. Do you see the difference between the good king? The good king, and the king is good. The good king, Hamelech HaTov. Same phrase, the good king. The king is good. There's a verb in here. They call these noun sentences or adjective sentences or some sentences or something. The king is good. All right, so let's see. Why did they leave it? I don't know. Because you're not going to see a lot of it. It says, so Baruch, they're saying, is a special kind of word. They're saying it's not really an adjective. And I'm saying that I think that it is. It's used like an adjective. It has 4 forms. It's got to match the noun it describes. But if I say a blessed king, why is that not an adjective? Do you see that it's not an adjective? I think of it as an adjective. It acts exactly like an adjective. I feel like it's an adjective. It spells like an adjective. So Melech Baruch is blessed king. Haaretz Habrucha, the blessed land. Hamelachim Baruchim. So notice there's a ha on this one and there is none on the other one. So it's the kings are blessed. Haratzot Habruchot. So this one does have a ha on both. And Baruch Atah, what? I've seen this before. Baruch is praised, Atah is you. So it's not like, that's where it becomes trickier. It's not, I still see it as acting like an adjective here, but it's not exactly an adjective here. You can say blessed are you, or you could say you are blessed. I'll let him have it, but I still think of it like an adjective there. So let's take a look at a couple of these phrases. Ben Gadol. That means a big son. It could also mean a son is big. Does it matter? A big son or a son is big? If there's nothing else in the sentence, it's not going to matter. It's going to be a son is big. If it's a part of a sentence where you're saying a big son crossed the road all by himself, then you're going to say Ben Gadol. But if the whole sentence is a son is big, then you're going to say Ben Gadol. Ha Ben Gadol. Now I know that this is a whole sentence. First of all, they put a period. Sorry. Ha Ben Gadol means the son is big. Ha-ben ha-gadol means that these two words have to stay together in the same phrase. The big son, something, something. Ha-banim gedolim, the sons are big. Ha-banim ha-gedolim means the big sons. It shouldn't be very confusing. Let's take a look. I mean, forget the fact that, that's a Baruch one. All right, let's do this one. This one, they're trying to mix it up. Ha'am kadosh. What do you think? Hold on, I'm unmuting. Go ahead.
The Holy Land.
Ha'am kadosh. So am is
Nation.
and kadosh is holy, but there's a ha on this and there's no ha on that. So it's the nation, the people is holy. Ha'am kadosh, and then there's a period. It's its own sentence. It's not like the holy people something or other. It's a sentence all by itself.
Well, and why would, if you're talking about a whole nation, it doesn't feel like that's a singular form.
It's a group noun. Yeah, they call it a group noun. It's like,
But you'd still use a singular adjective.
you would. It's a lot there. I mean, that trips a lot of people up in English too. Where did I heard something on the radio this week that they were trying to. They got very confused about what they were supposed to do, whether it was is or are. But that's beside the point. So if I say the people as a people, the people is or the nation is good. The nation is good. Even though the nation is made up of a lot of people, the nation is good. And that's what this is. The nation is holy. The people as a people is holy. The people are holy means all of the individuals are holy, but the people is holy. The people as a people, or the nation is holy. It's a singular.
So if
doesn't
you
matter
saw
if it's-
kadosh in the plural, you'd say are holy.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, that's a good point that they're giving us words here. So you get to use what, you're not having to make up whether it is or are, whether it is plural or not plural in this case.
Mhm.
You're right. Lex?
How would you work it is the people are holy, the people is holy, the nation is holy. Kind of,
So it's actually in some of our prayers already, where it will say, God has chosen, God has done wonderful things in the world, and God has chosen a people, and the people is it's let me see, Ha'am Segula, the people is treasured, or the nation is treasured, and it'll be something like that. Ha'am Kadosh.
I look at it that it wouldn't be plural unless you were talking about more than one nation.
That's exactly right. That's why it's probably easier in this case for us to translate it as nation. As soon as you say the people, so I'll show you where you could do, like the people, you say Am Yisrael can mean the nation of Israel, the people of Israel. And when you think of it as the people of Israel, then you know that it's a group made up of lots of little people. Am Yisrael is the nation of Israel, or the people of Israel, as in all of the people who are descendants of Israel.
so does Hebrew have the is and the are?
The word doesn't exist in Hebrew. I mean, it exists, but only for poetry. So you have to make that up in English.
Is and are an English
Exactly.
construct.
Well, for those of us who speak English, if you want to translate these, then you're going to say Ha'am Kadosh. You would say the nation is holy. You would plop that is in there because that makes sense as an English sentence. In Hebrew, it's going to sound like Tarzan to those of us who speak English. You would say the nation holy. And we know that that means the nation holy. We know what it means in Hebrew. We're not going to need that is because it doesn't exist in Hebrew. But in English, we would translate to be the nation is holy. Shalom Rahav means great peace. It could mean a peace is great, but it means great peace. HaShabbat Kiddosha. HaShabbat, the Sabbath. Kiddosha is holy. The Sabbath is holy. If I want to say the Holy Sabbath, I would say HaShabbat HaKedosha, comes after a really hard work week. HaDivarim HaKedoshim, the holy things. Ha'aratzot Rabot, the nation, the lands, are many. And then we've got practicing Baruch here. So, and then we've got all of the exercises. So I think that that's all we have there. Wait, let me see. Are we missing another page? Oh yeah, so then we get to do this. This one's fun. So we have an example from the prayer book. Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonenu Kadosh Shemo. Where does that come from? Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonenu Kadosh Shemo. Good guess, but no. But there's a reason why you think it is. And the reason is because it is said before the open ark, but it is not the Elenu. It's part of the Torah service.
We do turn 2 pages before we get to it.
Yeah, exactly. So this one is when we're standing there and holding the Torah in front of the ark, we're about to read from the Torah. We say the person says Shema, and in some congregations, everybody says it together. In the Reform movement, most of the time we're not doing a repeating thing. In the conservative and Orthodox, the person who's holding the Torah is going to say Shema Yisrael, and then the congregation is going to repeat it. And then everybody can say either repeating or not, Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonenu Kadosh Shemo. In the high holidays, you'd say Kadosh V'Norah Shemo. Holy and awesome is his name. Actually, there's the answer, the Shema in the Torah service for Shabbat and festivals.
Oh,
There are three pairs of words. So Echad Eloheinu, one, our God is one. Gadol Adonenu, our Adon is great. Kadosh Shemo, holy is his name. So that's pretty cool. But now we get from the Kedusha, which you know is another part of the service. In the mornings, we'll say Kadosh, where we say Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzavaot, Melech Halar, or we'll say, what's the melody that Bonya Shore wrote? He wrote, Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzavaot, Ochol Haaretz. Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh. Those are some of the ones we did in the high holy days. It's always the high ladies that, the sopranos. Kadosh, holy, Kadosh, holy, Kadosh, holy, Adonai Tzvaot. So holy, holy, holy is Adonai of hosts. So it's referring back to Adonai, and that's why it's in the singular. Tzvaot is not a singular noun. So this is the Adonai of hosts. That's a possessive word. So that's cool. It wouldn't have been the example I would give. You know what example I give for this one? This is my favorite. Let me show you. Hold on. My favorite example is if we go to, let's go to B'nai Mitzvah. And we go to, let's see, where's my word? All right, we're going to have to come to it here because I still don't have all these. I've got all kinds of cool slides now for practice. So I'm going to show you examples. This one. So we have Adonai, our God, and God of our ancestors, mothers and fathers, God, blah, blah, blah. But then we say, Ha'el, Hagadol, Hagibor, V'Hanora, the God. So Ha'el is the God, Hagadol, the great, Hagibor, the mighty, V'Hanora, and the awesome. And so all of these are following the noun. The noun that is modifying is the God. And they're agreeing in number, because this is singular, so they're all singular. In gender, this is all masculine, they're all masculine. And in definiteness, since there's a ha on that noun, there's going to be a ha on every single adjective. Ha, 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 ha. Ha-el, ha-gadol, ha-gibor, ha-hanora. El Elyon. So El is God again. Elyon means highest one. That's an adjective again. And then it says Gomel, which is receives chasadim tovim. So tovim is an adjective referring back to chasadim, loving kindnesses. This is good loving kindnesses. This is. And then let's see. Nope. Okay, so this one is another one. Melech Ozer. This is an interesting thing. I think this is closer to what Baruch is doing, where it's a verb. Melech Ozer umoshia umagem. A king who is a helper and a redeemer and a shield. So it's taking a string of nouns and using them to modify the kind of noun it was. Baruch atah Adonai, praised are you. And I still think praised is an adjective. This is not, none of that is. But I think Ha'el, Hagadol, Hagibor, V'Hanora is the perfect example of using adjectives in the Torah, in the prayer book, I mean. And then I'm going to stop sharing and I am going to